You are likely sitting in a room right now that is technically warm, according to the digital readout on the wall, yet you feel a pervasive, bone-deep chill that no amount of modern central heating seems to fix. We have spent the last 50 years wrapping our homes in Tyvek, sealing every crack with silicone, and installing triple-pane glass under the guise of energy efficiency. But we have inadvertently created hermetically sealed traps for moisture. The irony is that by trying to keep the heat in, we have locked the humidity in with it, and wet air is significantly harder to heat than dry air. Before we dismantle the architectural failures of the modern age, if you value rediscovering the lost practical knowledge of the past, make sure you subscribe to Atten Recounts right now so you do not miss our next deep dive into historical survival skills. Our ancestors did not survive harsh winters solely by piling on wood. They survived by understanding the physics of airflow, a concept we have arrogantly forgotten. They knew that a house needs to breathe to stay warm, whereas we have turned our homes into sweatboxes that breed mold and suck the thermal energy right out of our bodies. Our ancestors prioritized airflow over insulation to maintain thermal mass. You know, when you look at the construction of a pre-war Victorian home, or perhaps a traditional frontier cabin, you might mistake the draftiness for a lack of technology, but really it was often a feature rather than a bug. Historical builders understood that stagnant air is dangerous air. In a home heated by open fires or wood stoves, a constant draw of fresh oxygen was necessary for combustion, but it also served a secondary vital purpose of purging the moisture generated by cooking, washing and breathing. The walls of these older structures were often made of breathable materials like lime plaster or untreated timber, which acted as a hygroscopic buffer, absorbing and releasing moisture naturally. Today, we trap that moisture inside with vinyl paint and plastic vapor barriers. You can, you know, apply this historical logic by stopping your obsession with sealing every distinct draft in a room that feels cold. Instead, focus on the quality of the air itself. If your windows are dripping with condensation in the morning, your home is not just wet. It is thermally compromised because your heating system is wasting energy trying to boil the water vapor in the air before it can actually raise the room's temperature. The physics of humidity dictates that, well, dry air heats faster than wet air. The science here is immutable and honestly ignored by almost every modern HVAC manual. Water has a high specific heat capacity, meaning it takes a tremendous amount of energy to change its temperature compared to nitrogen and oxygen. When your home's relative humidity creeps above 60%, your furnace is working overtime to heat that suspended water, costing you a fortune in fuel. Furthermore, damp air conducts heat away from your skin faster than dry air, which is why a damp day at 5 degrees feels colder than a dry day at 0. You can test this immediately by purchasing a simple analog hygrometer, a tool that really should be in every historian's or survivalist's kit. Place it in your living area, and if it reads above 55%, your expensive heating system is fighting a losing battle. The solution requires a counterintuitive action that feels wrong in the dead of winter, but, you know, is the only way to reset the thermal balance of your shelter. You must invite the cold in to eventually make the room warmer. Executing the Blitz ventilation technique purges moisture without cooling the structure. There is a specific tactical approach to exchanging air that does not freeze your furniture, often referred to in Germanic regions as Stoßlüften or shock ventilation. You know, the mistake most people make is leaving a window cracked open all day, which, well, merely cools the walls and furniture, the thermal mass, without really creating enough current to swap the air volume. The correct historical application, though, involves opening every window and door in the dwelling simultaneously for exactly 5 to 10 minutes. By doing this, you create a cross-draft that is, frankly, violent and absolute. This rapid exchange flushes out the stale, humid, carbon dioxide-rich air and replaces it with cold, dry winter air. And because air has a low thermal mass, this new cold air actually holds very little actual coldness energy. Once you shut the windows, the heat retained in your solid furniture, the floorboards and the walls instantly radiates back into the room. You'll find that within about 15 minutes, the room returns to its previous temperature. But because the air is now dry, it feels significantly warmer, and the air quality is, well, simply pristine. This truly is how you manipulate physics rather than fighting it. Managing your indoor environment requires, well, active participation rather than just passive reliance on technology. You should perform this shock ventilation routine twice a day, once in the morning to purge the moisture accumulated during sleep, and once before bed to ensure a dry sleeping environment. You will notice, perhaps with some surprise, that your linens feel drier, and the clammy sensation that often accompanies modern gas heating disappears. This practice also drastically reduces the likelihood of mold growth behind wardrobes and in corners, which is, a common plague in modern renovations of historic buildings. It is a harsh, deliberate intervention that forces you to engage with the elements rather than hiding from them. By embracing the cold air for brief, controlled intervals, you gain mastery over your indoor climate. It is, a paradox that the rugged survivalists and historians of the past knew well. Sometimes you must open the gates to the enemy to defeat them. Just a few final thoughts, really, on reclaiming control over your thermal environment. We have become too passive, relying on thermostats and automated systems to regulate our comfort, while perhaps unwittingly ignoring the fundamental laws of thermodynamics that our ancestors navigated daily. By reintegrating the old winter air rule into your daily routine, you are not just saving money on heating bills, you are preserving the structural integrity of your home and actually improving your own physiological resilience. It is a small, disciplined act that connects you to the reality of the environment rather than isolating you from it. If you found this guide on historical heating wisdom valuable, do share this video with others who are perhaps tired of the damp cold of modern living. And do not forget to subscribe to Atten Recounts for more insights where history meets practical application.